So once you can start being vulnerable, you'll start to feel more peace. You'll start to feel more love. You'll start to feel more excitement and joy. You'll start to feel less pressure on yourself to perform. And the more vulnerable that you are, the more freeing that you are. It's in the vulnerability that you'll feel a deep connection with people because it's real. What's going on, guys? My name is Fausto. I'm a motivational speaker, clinical counselor, and spiritual advisor. But most importantly, I'm somebody who's battled with addiction, trauma, mental health, and a whole lot of codependency. And I truly believe those who hurt the most heal the most. And there's a lot of people out there that claim to be gurus, healers, life coaches that are hurting you more than helping you. And I'm somebody who's not only been through the pain, but walked through it the healthy way, went to school to get a degree in it, and have been blessed to work with over tens of thousands of people due to a mentor of mine who allowed thousands of people a week to come to his place to heal. In this video, we're going to be talking about vulnerability, what it is and what it isn't. Because a lot of people view it as a weakness, but I view it as a superpower. Vulnerability saved my life. Once I was able to be vulnerable about my addiction, my childhood trauma, my mental health, my insecurities, my suicidal ideations, and the list goes on, I was finally able to feel free, to feel love, to feel at peace, and I started to heal. And I want to let you guys know today, if you could start being vulnerable more, you'll feel connected more. Because connection is the opposite of addiction, of loneliness, of isolation, of emptiness. Connection is what makes us feel alive and what helps us heal. But connection is only built through vulnerability, because vulnerability creates relatability, and relatability leads to connectability. So we got to learn to be vulnerable, know when to, how to, and in this video, I'm going to explain it to you guys. So what is vulnerability? Vulnerability is where you're able to show your true self, your fears, your emotions, your flaws, every aspect of you. And you're not seeking acceptance or understanding for it because you're okay with yourself in all aspects of it, whether people like it or not. That's what vulnerability is. It's where we get to be our true authentic self and we get to walk life in authenticity. And see, a lot of people will view vulnerability as a weakness. They believe if I'm vulnerable, then I'm going to show people how to betray me, how to hurt me, how to use me. If I'm vulnerable, people are going to want to know how to get over me. That's not what vulnerability does. It only does it if you allow that to happen. That's why the rapper Eminem was so successful, is because he was able to be like, hey, this is who I am. Now what? You got nothing on me. You can't talk crap on me. I talk crap on myself. It's a very powerful thing he did. And now he's literally the most successful hip hop artist ever. Like ever. So that just shows you when you can walk in vulnerability and realize it's a strength, that's you taking back your power so nobody owns you or can hurt you. It's a very empowering thing. Vulnerability is actually something that all of us want to do. And that's why when you see someone who could be vulnerable, it's a very contagious and inspiring thing to do. And if it triggers you, it's probably because you wish you can be vulnerable. Now, why is vulnerability difficult? I know in my story, I was afraid to be vulnerable because I was afraid people were going to see me as weak. I already didn't like myself and I already wanted to be accepted. So it was really difficult for me to show my true self because I thought my true self wasn't lovable. Another aspect of it is I've been vulnerable before with some friends, and then they use it against me to bully me, to pick on me, to make people look down on me. I had girls break out with me because of it. So you can see there was a fear. I tried it and I was hurt. Never again. A lot of times people can use it to blackmail you, to betray you, to hurt you. So there's a lot of reasons why we can view it as a weakness, or maybe just the way you were raised, your parents taught you, or your caregivers, that vulnerability is a weakness. You don't show weakness. And when you're on the streets or when you're locked up in different types of places, yeah, vulnerability could get you into trouble. So when you're programmed in a place where vulnerability really was a weakness because people will hurt you, it can be really difficult to unprogram yourself when it comes to not being in those places. And so if you fear judgment, you fear rejection, vulnerability is going to be very hard to practice because you're seeking to be accepted. And to not be accepted is the worst thing ever for you. So vulnerability will be difficult because vulnerability risks people not agreeing with you or wanting to be around you. But I'll tell you what, if everybody likes you, you're not being yourself. If you care what people think, then you're never going to be happy in life because you're always going to seek to please others before pleasing yourself. And I'm here to tell you, like, I totally understand it. I couldn't get vulnerable until I was 25 years old, and I was suffering in silence since I was 7 years old. So I get it. It's a difficult thing. It's easier said than done. And that's why in this video, I'm trying to explain to you, for one, what it is, why it's difficult to validate you. If you notice, I'm sharing some of my personal stuff because I want to show you guys how vulnerability looks by my vulnerability. I even have a t-shirt I wear in public that says I was sexually abused, addicted, and suicidal. Like, that's how radically vulnerable that I am. I'm not saying for everybody to do that, but it's a very freeing thing. I'll tell you that right now.
Try committing suicide again. I'm having 3 to 5 grand mal seizures a day at this point. I got ADHD, so I'm all over the place. So when I was growing up, I was that kid that was socially awkward, shy, insecure. I got thoughts of I'm stupid, where I get molested for 6 months.
How does vulnerability empower you? See, and this is so key because I want you guys to really understand the power in this. Vulnerability is literally a superpower. That depression that you feel, that anxiety that you feel, that loneliness that you feel, that addiction you can't break is being caused by a lack of vulnerability. But see, you got to be vulnerable in safe spaces. You got to be vulnerable in places that people can handle that vulnerability to begin. Because in the beginning, it'll be difficult. It's a new thing. You need people who are built for it, to be there around you, to love you through that vulnerability. So then you can get to a point where you can be vulnerable wherever you go. And then you inspire people to be vulnerable. So vulnerability allows us to understand that we're not perfect, and that's okay. It's in the imperfection that shows the humanness in us. It's in that imperfection that connects us. So once you can start being vulnerable, you'll start to feel more peace. You'll start to feel more love. You'll start to feel more excitement and joy. You'll start to feel less pressure on yourself to perform. And the more vulnerable that you are, the more freeing that you are. The more vulnerable you are, the more connected you will feel with people. Now, why is that? So, like I said earlier, success separates us when it comes to connection. Vulnerability is what connects us. So a lot of people, we think if I impress you, you'll like me. And maybe you get some people that like you or accept you for the things that you do to impress them. But if you pay attention, impressing people separates you from people when it comes to that internal connection you're seeking. So don't impress, start to express. Again, don't impress, start to express that vulnerability. It's in the vulnerability that you'll feel a deep connection with people because it's real. And a lot of people, I'll tell you what, the things that you're afraid to be vulnerable about, a lot of people are going through it. So I'm going to show you some vulnerability right now. Okay. So I was addicted for 11 years to cocaine, alcohol, meth, pills. People that I was around during that time, I stole from, I hurt from, I cheated on. I lied a lot. I got fired from jobs, broken relationships. My childhood trauma, I was sexually abused by a boy. I have feelings that I think I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm unlovable because I grew up with a father that I didn't feel loved from. And so I was always seeking it. So I learned to play these characters of the funny guy, I used to exaggerate and lie a lot. Like I've done all this cool stuff to be accepted. And I battle with suicidal ideations because I spiral because of my ADHD. I get overwhelmed. I never feel like I'm enough. I didn't know how to do a resume. I wasn't smart academically in school. I cheated a lot in school, and then I dropped out. I didn't know how to pay bills properly. I didn't know how to put gas in a car. I didn't know how to be in a healthy relationship. I have a fear of rejection. I have a fear of conflict, for standing up for myself. I'd rather avoid than talk about it. And see, that's me being vulnerable with you guys. Even this YouTube channel, I've been trying to do a YouTube channel for years, but because of my ADHD and I care what people think and I base my self-worth off of likes and comments, it was very difficult to do it, to stick with it. And so, this is a challenge for me to do this because every day I'm overthinking it and it's hard. to believe that I'm worthy enough for this to work, or that I know what I'm talking about. And so I share that with you guys to show you that's my vulnerability, because I want to show you it to empower you to do it too. And I'm telling you right now, it felt hard. I'm getting like a little anxiety, but I want to be real with you guys and honest with you guys, because that's the truth. Just because I'm behind this camera, I've worked with certain people or do certain things, it's called being human. It's called being human. And there's ripple effects from trauma and pain that we go through, or things we haven't talked about it. But you probably feel more connected with me through that saying than most of the other things that I say. So that's how, what I want you guys to start practicing is to be vulnerable, because it's going to empower you. It's going to empower you. It's a strength, not a weakness. Now, here are some steps that you can start taking to practice vulnerability. And the first one is you got to start with yourself. I want you to write out a list of things that you have a hard time being vulnerable with, whether it's behaviors, things that you've been through, things that you struggle with, whatever it is, just start writing those things down. Write them down, get it out like that first. It's very empowering when you put it on a piece of paper, right? So put it like that. Maybe you already know a lot. Maybe you got to think more about it, but do that first. And then what I want you to do is start taking small risks. What that means is find safe places, whether it's with a therapist, whether it's with a trusted support group, a trusted friend. Maybe it's me. Maybe you want to DM me, comment, or I want to say comment because everybody will see, but hey, that's radical vulnerability if you comment on it. You can DM me, message me, share some vulnerable stuff with me. You need to see how it feels to get it out, for it to be received in the right way and to be validated, so you can start healing and feel empowered. So first one is write the stuff down that you want to be vulnerable about, right? Get it on a piece of paper. 2 is you want to find a safe space, whether it's therapist, counselor, friend, support group, me, just somewhere that's safe to start practicing it, so you can see the benefits of it and to be in a safe space to do it, which is very important. Because the last thing you want to do is be vulnerable with the wrong people when you're trying to practice. It's probably going to just make it worse and more difficult for you to be vulnerable, because not everybody can handle it. Not everybody views it as a superpower. And not everybody is good for us in this season of their life, right? That's what we got to remember. Not everyone is good for us. And people using our vulnerability against us or not respecting it, that's not our problem. People are people, but we got to learn from it and move on. Once you get to a place where someone can know everything about you and you don't care, that's empowering. That's why when people tell me, Fausto, I'm going to tell your girlfriend this, and that, I'm like, go ahead. She already knows. Or if anything, it's on an Instagram video. Very empowering. Very, very empowering. The next thing I want you to do is on a day-to-day basis, remind yourself, because you got to reframe it. If it's been ingrained in you that vulnerability is a weakness or people are going to hurt you with it, then you got to reframe it that it's a strength, that it's a superpower, which is going to take time. You got to expose yourself to people who think like that. You got to educate yourself on vulnerability from that perception of it. Watch podcasts, read books. There's a ton of stuff out there. And so you got to reprogram your brain to view it as a strength. So constantly remind yourself that by practicing it in safe spaces, right? So safe space, practice it, will help you reframe your mind that it's a strength, not a weakness. And the last aspect of this is to really celebrate yourself, the little wins for you starting to open up and be vulnerable. Like seriously celebrate it. It's not easy when you haven't been like that. So it's huge that you do that. And every time you're vulnerable, you're going to heal a little bit more. You're going to feel free a little bit more. Your dream life will follow you because it's looking for you. It just needs you to be vulnerable enough to be able to receive it and to hold on to it. And remember, not everybody is going to agree with it. Not everybody is going to receive it, but that's not your problem. Not everybody's for you. Remember that. Those who are for you will stay with you and respect you. Those who aren't for you will disrespect you, and that's fine. You just cut them off. That's okay. Everybody's at their own journey of looking at vulnerability as a strength. Some people, it's down the road, around the corner. It already happened. It may never happen. But remember, it's not about other people. This is about your healing, about learning how vulnerability could change your life. It can save your life. It can empower you. And this is how you truly find purpose in your pain, which I'll do a video on soon on how to find purpose in your pain. But vulnerability is the key. And like I said, the more vulnerable that you are, the less loneliness you'll feel. You'll find sobriety. You'll find recovery. You'll find deep intimacy with people and connection. You're going to be free. So please start practicing vulnerability. Look at my page if you want to see how radical I get with it. But I'm telling you, it's beautiful. It is freeing. It gives people permission to be vulnerable. And it's awesome. It really is. And then you get to be the blessing in people's lives that allow people to have permission, like you're getting right now, to help other people heal. And then you'll be surprised. Life actually gets really fun the more vulnerable that you are, because now you're finally living for your true self. You're not hiding. You don't have to think about stuff to protect yourself or walk on eggshells. You're just being you. And then all of a sudden, everything that's for the real version of you will come into your life. And then that's when life gets very beautiful. So guys, again, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Again, guys, I have ADHD. We just had these big fires in LA. So me and my partner, we had to go to San Luis Obispo for the weekend. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, I overthink everything. I have my own battles of mental health. And so again, at every end of the video, I'm always like, did I even say anything that makes sense? Did I talk too much? Did I say too many uhs? Like I have no idea. You know, I get all nervous, but I'm practicing to just post, trust the process. And so I appreciate you guys for watching the video all the way through. Seriously, thank you so much for that. Again, guys, if this helped you, please like, subscribe to the channel. If you know anyone this can help, please send it their way, because the more people that see this, the more people can heal. And the more people that heal, the more peace we'll have on this earth, because healed people healed others. And that's what we're doing today, because you guys are all hope dealers, and life is going to be so beautiful, and you deserve love. Because remember, you matter, you are needed, and your story needs to be heard, because there's purpose to your life and everything that you do, and you're a lot stronger than you think. And so thank you again for watching the video. Have a blessed and beautiful night, blessed and beautiful week. 2025 is going to be full of miracles. Thank you, guys.